Advertising on Meta is not something that's going to work for my business because there are no keywords. So I can't get in front of the person that's ready to buy from me. And if I can't do that, then in my business, I'm not going to get a sale from advertising because I know that my customers will only buy from me if they're ready to buy. That's the conversation I had yesterday with a potential referral client. And it's an understandable thing to believe because in the last 20 years of digital advertising, we've all become programmed to think about that last click attribution that you can get, which you couldn't get from traditional advertising. You were never able to tell where your sale came from. You just put advertising spend out there, and if people were buying your product, then you said your advertising campaign was successful. With the advent of digital, you were able to start tracking everything, and things got better and better and better in the tracking world. So you were able to very specifically say, this specific ad converted a customer for me. And when you're a business owner who has a tight budget, then it makes sense to concentrate your spend where you can see a specific and direct and correlated response. I get all that. This business is already running Google ads, and Google ads are traditionally known for Google search ads. They have a whole lot more than that now. They have performance max demand generation, YouTube ads, all sorts of different ways of addressing the entire customer journey. But because business owners can see the direct correlation between someone searching for a specific key phrase and then buying, they want to put all their budget in that channel. And that's great, that works. You're gonna make money. Those clicks are gonna be the most expensive clicks you can buy because those are the highest intent people who are ready to buy from you. But there's a ceiling, and you're gonna hit that ceiling really quickly. It's fairly easy to explain that. You need to create demand for your business. You can't just convert the demand that's already there unless you're a very small business and the market is massive and you just need to shave off a little piece of that with really effective search ads. But otherwise, if you're trying to grow your business and move into new markets, you have to have the ability to nurture a customer all the way from realizing they have the problem to understanding what the solution is, then understanding why your solution is the right one for them, and then making the purchase. And when it comes to meta advertising, and what signified that you were a good advertiser was that you would create interest groups. You would go into that targeting section in your ads manager and you would say, get me the people who are between this age and this age. Sometimes you would put gender on there. And then you would say, I want people who only read Cosmopolitan magazine, who have an interest in this brand, who shop at these specific stores, get their groceries specifically from this store, etc. You would build a profile of interests that Facebook had in its data set associated with its members. And 7 or 8 years ago, that worked really well. It was able to inform the ad network how to find your ideal customer. Now, the problem with that in an era where privacy has become more prevalent after the Cambridge Analytica scandal is that a lot of that data is no longer available to the ad network. And therefore, Meta has deprecated an awful lot of those options. They have also built out their machine learning in a post-privacy world to be better at understanding consumer intent and the actions that they take on platform that suggest they are in the market for a specific product or set of products. This is what they're calling Advantage Plus. It's been around for years now, and their confidence in the ability of the machine to figure out all these data points, correlate them together, and understand who a customer is that way rather than an interest profile. Now, Meta recommends that you don't even use interest targeting because the machine can figure it out for you as long as you are providing it with a good objective that is tracked from your own first-party data, and you are sending back signals to the machine from your platform, from your website, from your CRM. With all those things together, it can piece together a customer journey, and the more data you flow into that over time and the more customers you get and you send back to them, the easier it is for them to understand what a customer journey looks like for your specific product. It's looking for behavior on platform, on Facebook, on Instagram, on Threads, and then it's looking for signals that are coming back from your properties to it to build a full picture of your customer journey and understand which steps that customer goes through to become a customer. Over time, this is the system that wins for you because it's getting smarter all the time and learning how to generate customers for you. If you're focused entirely at the end of the customer journey when someone is putting a search phrase in, and that's all you're focused on, it should still be part of what you do, but if it's all you're focused on, you're gonna hit a ceiling because it won't be able to find you more customers. because not enough customers are getting through to the bottom of the journey. It depends on the industry, depends on your business. Sometimes that's going to be accurate, that you have enough people that are already aware and have intent to buy and you don't have any competitors. But for most businesses, that's not going to be the case. You're going to need to continuously generate demand. And that's why Google, who has the search platform, has demand generation built into its system. It knows that search by itself is not enough. It's a multi-billion company, and it understands from all the data that it has, and it has more than just about anybody else, it understands that in order to get a customer to that spot where they're making that search, they have to generate interest, generate intent, build a consideration set, and move that customer down the journey. So that begs the question, how do you go about targeting these people if you can't target these people? How does broad make any sense? Well, the answer is to do the same work you used to do in coming up with your targeting set when you were putting interests into Meta. But instead of spending that time choosing all of these different targeting pieces, you instead use that time to think about what creative needs to go in front of those people when they're doing the things that they need to be doing to move down the customer journey. What's the thing that triggers them into the problem-aware stage? What's the thing that then moves them down the customer journey towards looking at specific solutions to their problem? What's the piece of content that introduces your solution as a better way to combat the problem that they have? What are the things that other people are saying about your product or service that make them want to buy from you? What's the latest offer you have? What do other customers look like? How do you see yourself in other successful users of the product or service? What is it about your company that people should identify with? What's the limited time value that you can offer at the end of that customer journey to help them to purchase? Now, some of these people can go through that entire process right on Meta. They can use Facebook and Instagram, and they may see this content over a period of time, and that's enough for them to click a link and make a purchase. And then that purchase is going to be tracked back to Meta, and your entire campaign is pretty easy to track, apply value to, and see a cost for. But a lot of the time, they're going to jump back and forth. In fact, Google's messy middle data shows that customer journey is messy and more convoluted than it's ever been. That's why they came up with the 7-11-4 rule. A customer needs to see 7 hours of content from you. Doesn't all have to be video. They just have to engage with your content for, on average, 7 hours across 11 different touch points. So let's just say 11 different ads, but it means a lot more than that. And 4 different platforms. So if you start on Meta, maybe it's Facebook, then you go to Instagram, then you see some stuff on YouTube, and then that YouTube video causes you to go to search and type in a brand name. Who's getting credit for that sale? If you're taking the old school mentality, it's Google search. Now that click is going to be super expensive, but it's probably still going to fall within your regular cost per acquisition window because you're only considering that click as the cost that got you that customer. But they interacted in 3 or 4 other places, maybe more, and sometimes you didn't pay for that, and sometimes you did. So it's really difficult to get full attribution on what caused a customer to buy. But if you're looking just at that end of the customer journey, Google search, you're going to get a completely skewed cost per acquisition. The smart money goes in the bigger system. If you provide all of the assets that cover all of the customer journey points for all of the potential customers you might have, and you continue to work on that creative and build it out and get better at doing each individual job that that creative is supposed to do. And that means that creative is not supposed to take them all the way from first hearing about the problem to buying your product. Each piece of creative works in tandem with the others as a system to get you there. Then you start to learn what your customers want and need to see rather than what you think they want and need to see. And the more as marketers we can get away from ego-driven, we believe this is what is best, and use that knowledge instead to guide our experiments, the better the machine can figure out for us which specific customer needs which specific set of creative to move through the customer journey, because they're all going to be different. And that means we can spend our time coming up with new creative ideas that solve a specific problem, like getting attention. That's one problem. Getting attention and then converting, that's a very difficult job to do with one piece of creative when you've got the 7-11-4 in play. And what that means is you also get rid of creative fatigue. Creative fatigue is basically somebody seeing the same piece of creative over and over and over again to the point where they ignore it. And then your ads stop working. They may have worked for the first few weeks and then they stop working. When you're using machine learning and a large number of creatives in a bank, you can't get creative fatigue. especially if you're using Meta's Advantage Plus AI systems that will alter backgrounds, change music, change formats, change overlay copy. And sometimes it doesn't look perfect for your brand. I'll give you that. It's getting better, and they will get better and better as time goes on. But if it works, if you're spending the same dollar and getting more customers, unless you're a massive brand spending big dollars on brand campaigns, it's not going to affect your bottom line. I have clients whose accounts have 100+ pieces of creative in there. There's no way for us to test that amount of creative in the old methodology by targeting interests in very specific groups of people. There's just not enough data there to get statistical relevance. So instead, you fill up the machine with all this creative, with each creative having a very specific job to do and defining that and measuring it on that specific job. And then you let the machine learn over time, give it lots of inputs, get all the tracking in place, which I've talked about in another video, and let that knowledge and insight grow over time. That's what gets you reliability. You can take your hand off the wheel a little bit more and concentrate on other areas of your business. And isn't making creative more fun and more enjoyable than tweaking your ads every single day? Worried about what's going to happen next? You want to be able to let that system run your ads, and you're making minor adjustments along the way, which leads you to be able to do higher value work in your business. And I think it's also important to say that if you've got digital advertising working on one platform, and this goes for almost all businesses, maybe not all, but almost all. If you've got ads working on one platform and it's getting you the cost per acquisition you want, you should definitely be experimenting with another platform. If you're on Meta, you should be adding Google to that mix and vice versa, because it's all customers. I hear this all the time that Meta is not an intent-driven platform or Google's too expensive. If you've got them both set up properly with the right tracking, and that's the key piece, if you've got all that set up properly and you've got a good bank of creative and you work to improve that bank of creative over time, those systems are going to learn together, and those people are on both of those platforms. I want to bust the myth that if you're only advertising on one, you're missing out on all those people that are on the other one. It's just not the case. If your audience is on all of these platforms, the average American scrolls the height of the Eiffel Tower every single day on social media. It's not about my customers are here and they're not there. It's not about Facebook only has older people on it. That's not true. It's about having touch points with your customers no matter where they go, being there when they're on their digital devices. It is the fastest way to get those 7 hours of content interaction in front of them across the 11 different touch points and 4 different platforms. If you can get that set up reliably and cost effectively, that's how you're going to win in advertising.